Everyone will tell you to start a podcast. Your coach will tell you to build a course. Someone else will tell you to write a book. The question is, which one should you do first? And which one makes the most sense for where your business is at today? And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through my honest assessment of each one of these, because I have seen people do them all at different stages of their business, at different levels, and in different order. And I'll give you my opinion on how I would go about proceeding with these different action items. So how we're going to structure this is I'm going to break down podcast, I'm going to break down courses, I'm going to break down books. Then I'm going to give you kind of my recommendation. Now, let's talk about what a podcast does really well. I've had a podcast. I've been on hundreds of podcasts as a guest. I love podcasts. Podcasts have brought in an incredible amount of revenue over the years, and it's led to so many amazing things. But here's what a podcast does really, really well for you is, first is it builds intimacy with an existing audience. So as you do more and more episodes, people become returning listeners. They feel as if they really get to know you. And this long form audio and sometimes video can create deep connection. I think back to the first podcast I listened to, John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneurs on Fire, Lewis Howes, The School of Greatness. I would listen to them on the way from work, and I felt like as if I knew what they were all about. I didn't know them at the time, but I felt like I knew what they were all about because I listened to their podcast, and so we had a connection. Podcasts do that really, really well. Podcasts also are really great top of funnel content. It's free. People can consume it wherever they want to, and it can add to SEO. It can add to discoverability, and there's a lot of benefits of being on a podcast. It also, podcasting positions you as someone with a lot of ideas, with opinions, and with conversations. Okay. And the thing that I love most about podcasts is that it really allows you to build your network, but not just build your network. It allows you to be very specific in building your network with prospects, with clients, and with potential partners. And this is a great strategy to leverage when you're looking to expand your audience, when you're looking to expand your reach, when you're looking to partner with people, right? Asking someone to be on your podcast, great value add. So this is what a podcast does really well. Now, what does a podcast not do? Well, when you start a podcast, it doesn't immediately get you tons of relationships, doesn't immediately get you the results you're looking for. The podcast is a build-up thing. That's why so many podcasts, they start, everyone's excited, they're motivated, but then they realize, gosh, I got to find a guest at least once every week. I got to record a solo episode. I got to do this. I got to do that. And so it takes a while to build momentum, even if your goal is networking, or if your goal is ROI, if your goal is sponsorship, whatever it is it can take a while to have success, especially if you're starting with a smaller audience. The next thing that a podcast doesn't do a ton of is it doesn't travel the best. And here's what I mean by this. I love when people go on the road and they do podcasts, and that's something that's really, really fun. But a meeting planner isn't going to be like, hey, you need to listen to this podcast episode necessarily. You can't hand a podcast episode to the board who is going to be making the decisions. Now, sure, can you? Yes, but that's not that common, right? The other thing here is that when you start a podcast, if you have a smaller audience, you're definitely not, I'm not going to say you're definitely not, but you're more unlikely than not going to see a positive return. And so it's going to take time. It's going to take buildup. It's going to take consistent time, energy, and effort. And then you will have a podcast. You'll have a arsenal and a library of episodes. So these are some of the things that a podcast doesn't do. Now let's move on to a course. So I love courses. I love digital products. And for the sake of this, we're going to talk about a course. Now, here's what a course does really well, right? If we think about courses, what's really great is that they can generate revenue immediately. All right, so the minute you have a course, you can put it out there. People can go ahead, swipe their credit card, enter their information, and boom, you are getting money. And that is an incredible initial return. Now, you have to make sure that you have an audience who's already ready to buy. So I like to tell people who are building courses, build it, sell it before you build it, right? So tell people it's coming, invite them in at a founder's discount, invite them in at the price that you want to charge. And then once you have them, either build it out with them in real time, get their feedback, or once you've been paid, then you go ahead and build it. I made this mistake the first time I ever built an online course. Is I spent all this time, energy, and money. I built this course, and then I went to sell it, and people were like, "Oh, I would love this, but I wish it had this, this, and this." Had I done it the other way around, I could have built it with the end user, and that would have led to more success on that front. So what else does a course does well? Well, it gives you something to sell with limited fulfillment, especially if this is going to be just a digital on-demand course. It allows you to sell something, then you actually don't have any fulfillment, which means your profit margin can be really, really high. Now, of course, you can embed this into a group program. You could take your course and offer it as a bonus within your higher ticket stuff. That's some of the best stuff about having a course is once you have the course, you can utilize it as you see fit. The other great things about a course is that package a singular focus of your framework, your methodology into a digestible step-by-step process, which is often something of value to someone and can get someone a great result. And it's great for scaling delivery if you already have a proven result. So I love courses. I think courses are great. I've invested thousands of dollars into courses, and I've made a decent amount of money from selling digital courses or embedding my courses into our higher ticket experiences. Now, what a course doesn't do is what we got to talk about next. And a course doesn't, it doesn't say if you have a course that you're an expert. Like, yes, you're an expert, but when you say, oh, I just launched my course, not everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, they're the authority on that because they have a course. Courses are available to the masses on a lot of different topics. And so oftentimes a course is a great product as you're building something, or if you already have this big audience and you need a product to sell. The course market is saturated. I mean, there's been a lot of courses over the years. That doesn't mean you can't make a lot of money from it, but it is important to understand that because without strong credibility, without an existing audience, or without, having a very loyal audience who's going to buy your stuff no matter what the price is, courses can become very challenging, especially in the AI world where we're seeing a few different trends where people are starting to give their courses for a lot cheaper now, and then putting people on a recurring revenue model, or people are selling things that used to cost $1,000 where you'd do a webinar and then you'd sell it and it's $1,000. A lot of people now are offering that at a lower rate, or they're just immediately embedding it into something else. So you got to keep those things in mind. The other thing is, of course, it doesn't turn heads the way some other thing does. Like if a friend of mine builds a course, I'm like, congratulations, great job. But the rest of the world doesn't be like, oh my gosh, they just built this course. That's amazing. Like, congratulations. Let me share it with all of my friends. That doesn't often happen. And the other thing with courses is courses are a product within your existing ecosystem. So courses typically aren't going to just immediately generate you speaking engagements or tell people what you talk about. No one's going to be like, hey, you just released a course, let me interview on my show. Or, oh my gosh, you released a course, let me feature that in the media. Now, can these things happen? Yes, absolutely they can happen. But it often is, a course is often done for an existing audience or audience you're trying to build, and it can be super, super successful, but that's not what a course is designed to do. I've never built a course and been like, my new course just came out and then I landed speaking gigs. No, that's not the case. Now, if you're in educational curriculum and your course is based on a few things that you do and you're already giving speaking talks, this might be slightly different for you. But for the majority of us, a course doesn't just open the doors to speaking, press, or media opportunities like that. Now, let's go to the third part here, a book. So we talked about podcasts, we talked about courses, both fantastic things to have in your offer suite, in your ecosystem as part of your brand. But let's talk about what a book can do. And let's start at the beginning here. So a book is the only asset that you can have regardless of the room, regardless of the location. It can be given as a client gift. It can be given in the boardrooms. It can be given at event stages. It can be given to media pitches. It can be given as investor conversations. It can be given to buyer due diligence. It can be given to prospects. Your book is the most versatile thing that you can have. The second component of this is that a book immediately turns the heads, right? So if we were to rank these, right? I just said a course. You don't say, I just released my course and everyone goes crazy. You start a podcast, people will be like, yes, that's awesome. And there'll be a ton of support. But when you release a book, everybody comes to support you with or without interest in your industry or the topic. Why? Because books have a level of perceived elevation in society. The next thing here is when you write a book, people immediately see you as the expert. When I wrote Elevate Your Network, which was how to build better relationships in life and business, immediately people started asking me more questions about relationship building and networking only because I had written that book. That book lended itself to people assuming I had answers related to that. The good news is I did, and I could back it up. But the point is that when you write a book, people see you differently. It's also the number one thing that gets to be shared in an introduction. So let me give you an example of this. We had a client, and the minute he became an author, he would go on stage and they'd say, introducing best-selling author XYZ. They put best-selling author before his name. They didn't say he wrote a course. They didn't say he did 20 episodes of a podcast, but they led by saying he was the best-selling author of the book, and then they introduced him. So when you are an author, there's an additional wave, there's an additional level of authority, especially in our society today. So this is really, really powerful stuff. Not to mention that when you do the work once with a book, you can leverage it over and over and over again. And you don't have to spend more and more time. So it's the best of both worlds. It's your framework, it's your methodology, it's the things you teach, it's your life experience, but you can share it at any time, any place, anywhere. You could have a digital version of it. You can have an audio version of it. You could have a physical version of it. You can charge different price points for it. You can give it away. You can use that book to do so many other things. And so this is why this stuff is really, really important for me to share, and why I'm very passionate about all of these things, but especially a book. And so now let's take it to the current marketplace today. AI is everywhere, and I love it, right? Like, I love using AI. We use AI all the time. But what we've also seen is that it's very much clouding the content space. Like, to be honest, there are some TikToks or Reels that I'll see, and I'm like, is this real or is this AI? And so what's happening now is that I'm trying to identify what's real and what's not real. Well, when you do podcast episodes, like, you can have AI do a lot of the back end material. When you're doing a course, you can have AI be involved in a lot of things. And that's not saying that with a book you can't also do that, because you can, okay? But what I want to share with you right now is that in this landscape, the human element is going to be the most important piece here. And when you write a book, when you promote a book, when you do interviews because of your book, people can see that that's really you. And that's what makes books so great. That's what makes human-generated books so great, because it allows people to see into your perspective. And people know that if you've written a book, you've spent a lot of time, energy, and money to make sure that it's really, really great. So in a lot of ways here, it's very, very important to understand the context of where we're going, what people are tracking and wanting more of. There are people that I'm seeing on social media who are trying to do more events in person and then have all their other stuff digital, because they know that the AI side of things, the software side of things, their current programming that's already working that they can deliver is great. But they also are trying to make sure that there's more in-person touch points, because people are really, really looking for that, to make sure that there's a real connection. You're really you. It's really real. So here's the verdict of all of this stuff, okay? First of all, do them all at some point. I think they can all be beneficial, especially at different stages. But if you're trying to be an authority and you're trying to turn heads and you want people to pay attention to what you're doing and differentiate yourself, the book wins 10 out of 10 times, okay? The book comes first. And I often think, if you don't have any of these assets, that a book's great for coming first. Why? Because you can take the book, you use the book to build your solo episodes of podcasts, use your book to invite your podcast hosts, use your book as a thank you gift to your podcast guest. And then you also use your book to build out the best material that you have, which then turns into the framework for what your course could be. Whereas if you do the course first, then you have a course, but you don't have the authority or the head turning. Whereas if you write a book, you know it's going to be your best content in the right order, and then you can just build out based on that. And you could build small courses to large courses. If you're really trying to focus on just audience building and you just want to talk and grow your audience, a podcast might be the path for you. Okay? Podcast is excellent. And you could do that solo, or you can do that alongside the book. We have people who do books and podcasts, and then we have people who have done podcasts and then turn them into books. Okay? Again, there's not a right way to do this. It's just sharing different thoughts. Now, if you want immediate revenue and you're willing to do a course that's $500 to $1,500, well, immediate revenue, once you have a course, you could sell that immediately tomorrow. How long it all takes, those are all variables that come into play for all of these. Okay. But for every single thing that you do, there are great podcasting agencies. I have friends that do that. If you want an introduction, I'm happy to introduce you. I have friends that run course creation companies that can help you do that. And if you want help writing a book, we can help you do all of that. So my preference and what I like to do is if you don't have any of these at the beginning, okay, so this kind of, if you're a newer entrepreneur, if you're a corporate executive who's going into entrepreneurship, if you're someone who's just been building a social media following online, I love the idea of you go book first, then you turn that into podcast or simultaneously, and then you build the course on the back end of the book. Why? Because then you now have a direct funnel. You have the book, which you can give away or sell it. You have the podcast, which will deeper the connection, go deeper into your thoughts. And then you'll have the course, which you could sell at a much higher price point than your book. And so this is kind of how I like to think about it. And we've seen it done all the time. We've also seen it go in every other direction. So whether you have a course and you want to turn that into a book, a podcast you want to turn into a book, great. If you have a book, you can turn into all those. The key thing here is to identify and understand really for yourself, what's your priority? What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to have a one-size-fits-all thing? What's more important to you? What are you more excited about doing? What's going to have the longer term effect of success for you? So these are just the ideas that I have. And when I look at it and I look at my career, writing a book first was the best thing I could have done because it created an asset that immediately turned heads, garnering me attention, and I could use that attention for other things. And that to me was the most valuable thing that I could have was people's attention. Because when people start talking about you, you can build momentum. And when you have momentum, everything starts to go and go and go and go. All right. So that's why I like it. And the last reason I love a book first, and or at any time, but I think a book is an integral part of this existing ecosystem, is the versatility of the book. The fact that you can use it in so many different ways. And at the end of it, you have an actual tangible book that people have associated a real value with. Digital product, great. You have a digital product, but no one can hold your digital product. No one can hold your course. A podcast, it's awesome that you have that. Okay. But no one's going to just buy your course, right? But if you have a book, you can use it in so many different ways. And that's what I like. So you don't have to choose anything today, but you do have to choose what's going to come first for you. And if authority is the goal, if versatility is the goal, if authority and credibility and stages are the goal, then the answer might be more clear to you. Build the book, let everything else follow, build the ecosystem, and grow your business. To sum it all up, if you take action on any of these things, they can all be very valuable for you. I encourage you to look at who are you already serving? Where do you need the biggest room for growth? If it's visibility, if it's authority, if it's credibility, if you want more speaking engagements, the book is that path for you. If you want to just build your audience and deepen your network and just grow connections, then a podcast might be the first thing that you do. And if you want to just make revenue off the people you already have in your world, you can just create a course, assuming you already have your framework and everything built out. So that's my honest recommendation: book, podcast, course. That's what I would do first. That's the order of which I would do it. And that's why I believe in this and why it's worked so well for us. So if you want to learn more about this or to help pick out the right plan for you, go to bigideatobestseller.com/call. You can book a free demo and we'll map out your entire book plan, how to write it, what to write about, what your goals are with it, what could stop you from getting there, and ultimately how to make an additional 6 or 7 figures bottom line or top line, or both, to your business. And if you want to just learn more about the writing process, you can get a free copy of my book, Big Idea to Bestseller, at bigideatobestseller.com/free-book. So there you have it. See you on the next one.